Mbogo. Now, the Kenya Bureau of Standards says samples of seized sugar that was tested at its laboratories is contaminated with heavy metals like copper and lead. Despite the Interior Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, saying the seized sugar contains mercury and copper, KEBS Managing Director Charles Ongwae maintains no mercury was detected by its laboratories, raising a possibility that alternative laboratories could have subjected the seized sugar to further tests. Patrick Amimo has been following this story for us the entire day. Patrick, good evening. Good to speak to you. There's lots of contradiction. So you have Interior Cabinet Secretary saying there was mercury, Industrialization Cabinet Secretary opposing that. Today we heard from the KEBS boss. What stood out for you today in this whole contraband sugar?
Thank you, Linda. What this shows is that there's that that mutual suspicion among these government agencies with regard to either matters investigation touching on corruption. With regard to KEBS, there have also been credibility issues surrounding KEBS. Matters to do with the standardization of its standardization marks, which have been counterfeited, and we have goods in the market with those stickers. So probably, given what that Matiang'i has an advantage to also conduct other laboratories like the government chemist, then probably it could have subjected these particular sample of seized sugar to other agencies to also do the testing apart from KEBS, so as to be able to compare the results and see whether they tally and or not. And that's why we are seeing this controversy. And you see, even when the MD for KEBS appeared before members of parliament, he was pushed to explain really whether this sugar was fit for human consumption or not. Members felt that it was a bit cagey, and also, especially in terms of copper, and they said that after they later came to agree that after the sampling, they found that at least this sugar had 20 milligrams of copper, which is beyond the limit acceptable, because the acceptable limit is 2 milligrams. And I covered this particular, I was in the session and did file the following report, which maybe it's of interest to our viewers. Let's take a look. The Principal Secretary for International Trade, Chris Kiptoo, and his internationalization counterpart, Betty Maina, led a team of officials from the Kenya Bureau of Standards, KEBS, and the Anti-Counterfeits Agency to update the National Assembly's Committee on Trade and Industrialization on the state of illicit trade in the country. The meeting comes amidst reports that Kenyans could be consuming poisoned sugar that was imported into the country mid-last year.
First batch of results that we gave the Criminal Investigation Department did not contain any tests for mercury.
Suddenly, Ongwae was pushed to a tight corner to explain why KEBS findings differed with Matiang'i's and the Directorate of Criminal Investigation.
Can you confirm to this committee that you are not the institution that provided those results?
There are other institutions that can test in this country. Government chemists can test, the national laboratories under the Ministry of Health can test, the universities can test, but at the end of the day, what determines whether a result can be reliable or not is whether that specific laboratory has been accredited.
KEBS says it collaborates with other government agencies like Kenya Revenue Authority, Anti-Counterfeit Agency, Kenya Plant Inspectorate Agency, KEFIS, Agricultural Food Authority, Sugar Directorate, and Pharmacy and Poisons Board before imported sugar can be cleared at the port of entry.
The product failed in meeting the standard specification. Yeah. It has copper. It failed. Why don't you have courage and say, Kenyans, sugar branded Kabarasi, it has copper. Sugar UGT Africa, it has copper.
Of the sugars that we tested, we did not find mercury. We have not said we did not find the other things.
The sample D1, Chair, failed in color, copper, polarization, total viable count, yeast and molds.
When you say copper, there was presence of copper what?
Yes, copper was detected, and it was above the limits which are set.
The limit is 2 milligrams in a package in a kilogram.
Allowed parameter is 2 milligrams per kg, yes. And what was found is 20. Yes. 20.7.
In terms of this sugar, then even anything above 2 is not acceptable.
Ngwai says sugar seized from diamond wholesalers in Isli failed inspection test.
We do not know how it got into the country. That is number one. Number two, that is the sugar that has actually failed in copper.
Patrick Amimo, KTN News.
As public confidence falls on the fight against corruption, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee today summoned the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission and the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution to act